So the next thing I know, he's strangling me, and
welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Anastasia.
And so I did not want another kid, and unfortunately, we did. We had another kid against my will. So we got pregnant against my will. I'm just gonna say that. I talk about it in detail in my story, but so just if you go to my playlist on my TikTok, I was able to say it there. I don't know. I think probably because I'm looking at you talking, I really don't want to say it, but you get the idea. So we get pregnant, and we end up moving again, but this time because the landlords were getting ready to sell their house. And they're like, okay, you gotta go. So we moved to Wyndham, and so that's where everything blows up in Wyndham. We get there. I have my big kids. He is treating my big kids like shit. Like he doesn't like them. He's acting like he doesn't like them. He doesn't really want anything to do with them. He blames everything on them. They can't even sit on the couch right. If they lean against the arm or something, he throws a fit and makes them sit on the floor. He puts them in the basement in their rooms and stuff. And I that's when they come and visit me on the weekends and vacations. And I didn't know. It was a really bad time. Like I couldn't save myself. And so much so that like I had just given up and resigned myself to the fact that like this man was going to end my life.
You ain't doing shit. You're the victim. I'm gonna tell you, you better not take that truck, because when I find you, you ain't gonna like the repercussions. Stay right at that hospital.
So I couldn't even protect my kids. And I remember writing a letter, and I was teaching at the time. I was a special ed teacher at the time. I wrote a letter and put it at my desk and was like, if I don't make it, because he would tell me all the time, like, I could just off you and bury you in the mountains and no one will find you. And like, I believed him. And so I wrote that letter and I was like, if something happens to me, it was him. If I come up missing, it was this man. And I just put it at my desk and like, just gave up. I like completely gave up. And so in Wyndham, I was running my daycare center. I was doing really good for myself, even though I was dealing with all of his bullshit.
Yeah.
I had an actual center. I had my own employees. I just extended to like 32 kids. I was doing great. And then all of a sudden he's like, nah, we're going to move to Florida. I want you to shut down your daycare center. And I knew like I wouldn't see my big kids, my bigger kids if we moved, but I had no choice. I was like, okay, I guess we're moving to Florida. And next thing I know, our second daughter arrives. And actually before our second daughter arrives, there was another like big blowout. He had gotten really manic, and I was actually working at the daycare center, and I for whatever reason at that moment I felt brave, and he was like, "You're boring, I don't want to be with you," and he's just going on through text, and I was like, "Okay, how about we just separate?" I was like, "If you're not feeling me," I was like, "we could just separate. We'll share the kids and whatever." And I was so numb at this point, but like, what else? You're telling me you don't want to be with me and I'm boring, but I was like, okay. So all day long, this is happening through text, and I get home. I'm sitting on the floor. My 1-year-old is with me. He comes in and he hits me. He punches me in like the side of the ear and like right in front of our daughter. And like my ear's ringing, but like my daughter starts screaming, and I go to grab for her. I'm like, "It's okay, baby." And I go to grab her to comfort her, and he snatches her from me. And he's like, "Go upstairs." So I follow him upstairs, and he puts our daughter in her crib and has me go to our bedroom. And we didn't know this, but the bedroom window was open. And so he closes our bedroom door, and he goes into the closet and he grabs his belt. And so before, he'd always just like whip me with it and like leaving like really bad marks and, making me bleed and stuff. But this time he's like lay over the edge of the bed, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And I was 8 months pregnant at this time. Our second daughter had not arrived yet, and he's like, "Just lean over the bed." I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't want to leave you. You know, I'll stay with you." He's like, "Nope, it's too late." And so he grabs a belt and he loops it, and he goes to put it over my neck, but I get my arm up through the loop. And I was like, "Please, I'm begging you." I was like, "I love you. Don't do this." I was like, "You're gonna kill the baby." He's like, "I don't care. It's too late." So the next thing I know, he's strangling me, and
It's okay. And the window's open and people can hear this going on.
yeah, so like he's strangling me so much that like I'm getting tunnel vision, and I literally like said goodbye to my kids in my head. You know, I was like, "I love you guys." This is why I won the lawsuit, was off this one major incident. But also just all the torture. And then he stops. And he lets go of the belt, and like, you know, I'm loud because I'm like, "Please, I don't want to die." And he goes and he goes under the bed and grabs a gun that we had. He had forced me to get a 45 in my name, and I made him promise. I was like, "Don't ever use it on me." Can you imagine being in a relationship where you're like, "You know, I don't want to get this gun. I think you're gonna use it on me." And he's like, "No, I won't ever." But he pulls it out and he starts loading it in front of me. He cocks it, and he looks out the window and he's like, "The cops are here." And it was because someone had hurt me and called. And he's like, "If they knock on the door, I'm gonna shoot you."
He a felon?
Huh?
At this time, is he a felon?
I mean, yeah, he has had a couple charges. He's not supposed to have a gun.
Yeah.
He's like, "If they knock on the door, I'm gonna shoot you, the baby, and then myself." And I was like, "Please don't." Please don't. I was like, "You know, if they knock on the door, I could just go answer it and be like, everything's fine." He's like, "You're beet red. They're gonna know." I was like, "I'll get in the shower. And, you know, when they knock, when I get out, I'll be like, oh, I had the water running on me. It made me really, you know, made my face really red." And he's like, "Nope, nope, nope." And I just like, I remember standing there and just waiting. And my heart was pounding really fast and just praying to God that they didn't knock. And luckily they didn't. They left. And he put the gun away. He came up really close to me and was like, "If you ever try to leave me again, I will kill you." And I was like, "You don't ever have to worry about that again." And then he went and put the gun away and then acted like everything was fine. We went on with our day. Like everything was fine. Like we were just a regular married couple with kids.
But you kept that in the back of your head. You're like,
yeah, I knew that I was never going to leave him.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew that he was going to end me at some point. It was only a matter of time. But I just had given up. I didn't know what else to do. I had nobody. And I was too scared to tell anybody.
Is your family trying to reach out to you? Is there anybody that's trying to make contact with you at all?
Nope. Well, I had been isolated from everybody. I didn't have a real close connection with any of my family members anyways. I left home when I was like 13. So there was no real, and he knew it. And I think that's part of the reason why he chose me. So we just went on living our life. And then I started seeing more signs about my daughter again. Like he bought her a scooter out of nowhere. He tried to take her places, and I was like, okay, this is weird. And then this all happened very quickly. So my daughter wanted to get her hair done. He wanted to take her, and I was like, well, I'd like to take her. Maybe you could stay home with the kids, and I could take her and have some quality time. Nope. He wouldn't let me go anywhere alone with her. He's like, we'll go together. We'll get her hair done. So we did. We went together, got her hair done, and then when we came home, everybody got out of the truck. And while I was bringing the babies in, he had her get back in the truck and he left with her. And he texted me and he's like, "I'm just going to go down the street real quick to the wing place and get lunch." And it was like a 30-second drive. I was like, okay, that's weird, but all right, he'll be back. Like 20 minutes went by and he still wasn't back. And I was like, this is really weird. So he gets back and I'm scanning my daughter's face. I'm looking, for signs because like in my head, like I knew in the back of my head, I think, but just was not choosing to believe it. My daughter seemed fine. And I was like, okay. But then the night before, so we started getting into this routine where we would go up to bed at like 6 o'clock or something, really early. Yeah. And he would come up with me and we'd go up with the babies. But the last few nights he was staying down. with my daughter. And so the night before that had happened, I was like, this is weird. This is like the second night in a row. Let me go down and see what's going on. My daughter's sitting on one end of the couch. She's on the other. My daughter's face is red. And I was like, what the fuck? So I go over there to kiss her, to say goodnight. And I could smell alcohol in her breath. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I was like, okay, go downstairs. And so she went to her room. She was just like a little, like, she's like buzzed. Like, seemed like she was buzzed. I was like, oh, you go down to your room. And we went upstairs. I went upstairs with Ron, and I was like, what did you do? I was like, you gave her alcohol? He's like, yeah. He's like, she seemed stressed. I just wanted her to mellow out. So I just gave her a tiny little bit. I was like, don't, please. And I had to be really careful about how I said that because he would lose his shit. And I was like, please don't ever do that again. Like, I couldn't even be upset about it because he'd beat me. So he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so the next night after we did her hair. And after that incident with the wings, we get ready to go up to bed again. He heads upstairs with the babies first this time. And my daughter comes over to me and she's like, Mom, she's like, there's something I need to tell you, but I can't tell you right now. And I just knew immediately. And I was like, no, you're going to tell me right now. And she's like, Ron kissed me and held my hand and told me I was his woman. Ugh. When he took her to the wing store and told her not to tell me. And I was like, I just like went numb. But then I could hear him upstairs. He was getting ready to come downstairs. And I was like, listen, I looked at her and I was like, I believe you. I love you. I was like, do you trust me? And she's like, yes. I was like, I'm going to take care of this. And so I had to send her downstairs crying. I couldn't console her. I couldn't do anything because I knew if I had said anything, there was a very good chance he would have killed us all. So I just sent her downstairs and I was like, I promise I'm going to take care of it. So then I had to go upstairs with him and pretend like everything was fine. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to call the cops in the morning when he goes to work because I wasn't safe to do it then with him home. And so we go upstairs and I'm laying in bed and I remember the 45 being under the bed and it took everything I had to not, like, he fell asleep and he's snoring. I could easily grab that gun. It took everything I had to not grab that gun and just end him. But all I could think about was how all my kids would lose me. And I went back and forth. I was like, I could probably get away with battered wife syndrome, but I never called the cops. So I was like, I'm really taking a chance there. I was like, is it worth it? So I just laid there all night long. And come morning time, when he was supposed to go to work, he took the day off because it was snowing. We'd had a blizzard. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't call. Like, I had to keep everybody safe. So I told my daughter all day long, I was like, just stay by my side. I was like, I'm still going to take care of this. We have to do it the right way. And the next morning, he went to work and I called the police. They hooked me up with a DV advocate, an SA advocate, and the police came out and they started working. This was COVID. So this was right when COVID started. I couldn't go to the police station. They wouldn't come in my house. They're like, we're going to try to get an emergency no contact order. And they put the paperwork on the hood and had me come out and sign it.
Oh,
yeah.
It was like a really weird time at the time.
It was really, it was the worst time. And I think that's why he got away with what he did because because of COVID. So I was able to take her to go get a forensic interview that morning. Someone talked with her, talked with my son, talked with me. The cops, they told me to get a hotel to get out of there in case they couldn't get the no contact order before he came home. And the whole day, all day long, it was like he could sense something because he texted me all day long. I love you. How are things going? I miss you. I can't wait to get home. And I had to just keep playing my part. Like, oh, I love you too. I can't wait to see you too. Ugh. And like just had to play it off. He comes home, I don't know, like 4:30 or whatever. And we had gone to the hotel and we're still texting. He's like, hey, why aren't you home? And at this point, it had come through on my end. They said that they had gotten a no contact order. Where are you guys? What are you doing? I'm getting ready to make dinner. You're going to be home soon. And I know he knew something was up because he wouldn't even let me leave the house at that point. I couldn't go ramming the roads. I had to stay home all the time. I was completely isolated to my house. And so eventually I was like, hey, I know what you did. My daughter told me everything. Oh, she told you how we did this? And he played it off like something stupid. Like, we had fun doing this or whatever. And I was like, no, and you know what I'm talking about. I was like, you're about to get served with a no contact order. And he denied it and said it was bullshit, and obviously. And, you know, when the cops got there, he went outside screaming, and the neighbors came out. She does this all the time. She's tried this before. I'm going to divorce her. And just like, but they ended up substantiating him for SA on my daughter.
Making it all, he's trying to make it all your fault.
Yeah, and just completely denying all of it. He lawyered right up and pled the fifth. He wouldn't meet with DHS. He refused to meet with them. I had a no contact order. Initially, it was just for my one daughter. So he kept contacting me. He's like, oh, I can still contact you. I can still see my girls. I was like, there's no way in hell. So I had to go back and get the no contact order fixed so that he couldn't see any of us, couldn't be near any of us, couldn't talk to any of us. And then he started stalking me. So it got worse. It got much, much worse. He ended up sugaring my tank in the middle of the night and blowing my fuel pump. And that's the pictures I sent you. The business across the street caught him on camera, lurking around that same night. And so they were able to get him for criminal mischief, and he's actually running from the law right now because he has a warrant for criminal mischief because he found out and he ran. Then came the plot to murder me, which was extremely detailed, and I think I sent that to you. So he immediately started seeing somebody who went with him to stalk me at my home. Yeah.
And so his new girlfriend is with him stalking you.
Yeah. And like, I didn't blame her or anything because I think she started to feel scared too and didn't know what to do. So I was just so thankful that she went to the police about this murder plot. Like, his murder plot was to stalk me in my car, smash into my car, and when I got out to snatch me, hog tie me, drive me, get his friend's boat, and they were all going to take me out on his friend's boat, and he was going to hit me with a weed whacker, fill every hole in my body with spray foam. And that to me is like I don't know if you've seen spray foam, how that works, but that one just sits with me. Pour poison down my throat, beat me with bamboo sticks, and then stuff me in a lobster trap, break my limbs, stuff me in a lobster trap, and sink me to the bottom of the ocean. So that was his murder plot. And so he told his first girlfriend after me about it. She got scared and went to the police. And then another person, he had told 2 people. And then shortly after, his brother's girlfriend overheard him talking on the phone about it. And she went to the police and also told. But before anything could be done, he fled because of that charge for criminal mischief. So, and then with my daughter, so everything, he was substantiated by the state for FA on my daughter. I talked to 2 DAs because it happened he did stuff in 2 different counties to her. She went into more detail in the forensic interview about other stuff that he had done to her and tried to get her to do to him. And so 2 counties were, having to deal with it. But both DAs ended up saying that they weren't going to move forward because it was his word against my daughter's because nobody caught him and they didn't want to put my daughter through it. So we weren't able to get him criminally charged with it. And I hear that happens a lot, unfortunately, but I had some really great attorneys, a great divorce attorney who ended up stripping his rights so that he couldn't be anywhere near my children, so that he couldn't do that to any of my kids again. And then he hooked me up with another attorney who was able to sue him. They're like, we can't get him criminally, let's get him civilly. And so we were able to sue him for torture for $250,000. So did I see that money? No. Will he ever be able to own?
But if he ever gets a job or anything, it'll attach his pay, right?
Yeah. If he ever tries to own anything in his name, he will lose it, and I will make sure of it. So he'll never have anything in his name. He will never own anything. So, and for me, the lawsuit was validation, and it was worth it. So
when after the plot and all that gets revealed, he's with some other girl, right? where does he go from there? And is he still contacting you?
So he's taking pictures of me in my home during the day. I've got people sending me pictures of me on the couch with friends that he's getting from the wood line right across my house. At one point, his first girlfriend after me went with him to go to my home, and I had a high-rise back deck, and he hid under it. And while I was out there talking with my friends, he was under it listening to us talk. Like, he had gotten that close to me, and I did not know. He got a new truck and sat at the business right behind my house and like just sat there and watched me, and I didn't know because I didn't know he got a new vehicle, so I didn't think anything of it. This girl that he was dating lent him $10,000 in all. He left her and never paid her back. Moved on to the next girl. This is why I have this platform on TikTok and why I'm pushing so hard to get my story out there, because it's not just about me anymore. He's everybody's problem. So the girlfriend after her, he beat brutally and was arrested for it. He almost killed her, and that was a very short period of time. They were only together a couple months, and it was a mutual friend of ours, or just somebody that I had known about. She had just survived cancer. I remember last time I saw her, we brought her over a nice pot roast or something. So like, you know, she had gone through a ton of shit, and so he ended up dating her, and he beat her, and he pled not guilty and took it to trial, and it took 3 years, and they found him innocent after her waiting for justice for 3 years. The justice system just completely failed her. But it didn't stop there. So after she was able to get away from him, so he's bouncing from state to state, right? So it was in Maine. Then he ended up going on vacation with that girl and got arrested in Port St. Lucie, Florida. That happened. Then he moved to Virginia. He started dating somebody who had a small child. And the next thing I know, his first surviving wife and we got contacted by a guardian ad litem who was like, hey, we're just looking into this man who's dating, you know, we never found out the name of that victim, but the father of her little girl was concerned that Ron was trying to SA her or was SAing her. And so the guardian ad litem got a hold of us, and I sent her all the information. I sent her the substantiation letter saying, you know, that he does do these things, and we were able to get a no contact order against him for that little girl. So then he skips states again, and what he does, his MO, is to meet somebody online, move to wherever they are, and come up with some excuse. So the most recent victim, his excuse was he had a fallout with a business partner, and that's why he had to move from Virginia to where she was in West Virginia. They got a hotel for a couple of weekends, and then next thing, they get an apartment together. So he moved very quickly with her. He was dragging out his divorce with me. But as soon as he met her, he like put a rush on it, and I was able to get divorced from him. And then he immediately married her. And so the situation with her is he started threatening her. He isolated her from her family, and they started to see red flags. They found me on TikTok and asked me for help. So his first wife, Leslie, and I sent all the information to them as well, and was like, you need to get her away from him before she doesn't survive. But her dad died, and so she went back to him because she had left him for a short period of time at that point. They were able to get her away, but her dad died, and he was right there waiting with open arms, and she went back to him. But recently, he pulled a gun on her at a hospital parking lot. He was upset because she was at the hospital with her daughter, who was getting ready to have a baby, and he wanted her to come home, and she wanted to stay at the hospital. So I put this video on TikTok, I sent it to you, of him getting ready to go commit this crime. He gets caught from his own Ring camera, you know, heading to the hospital with the gun. You can see him returning on camera with the gun, messing with the gun in his pocket. But he pulls it on her, like out. He's sitting in the truck, and he pulls it out the window and tells her to get in, and she runs for her life. He's other staff were there and saw it. They were able to arrest him for it. I put that on TikTok too. And she got away from him. He spent 3 months in jail for that. But because he got arrested for that, he violated his bond for the charge before that in Florida, where he brutalized the girl before.
Yeah.
So he was held in West Virginia jail for 3 months, and then Florida extradited him down there until his trial, where he was found innocent. Then he came back to West Virginia, and now he is currently stalking her right now. So as of recently, he was turning on her street as she was turning off of it, and he whipped around and followed her and rolled his window down and stuck his hand out and like pretended to shoot her and laughed and drove away. And then not too long before that, he cut her camera, the wires to her cameras that she had at home, and spray painted "whore" all across her entire car. So he's like actively, and right now he's staying with an older woman, or the last we heard, he is isolated an elderly woman. I think she's like 65 or something, and has her isolated from her family right now. And
Wow.
we think he might have left Beckley, so he's kind of everyone's problem right now because we don't know where he is, and so that's why I'm trying to get my story out there so that everybody knows who Ronald Lee Hopkins is and can kind of protect themselves and their loved ones from him, because he's a very dangerous man. He's completely unhinged. He's getting worse and worse with every person. He's taking less and less time to brutalize them, and I'm just.
Does
If
he
I
have
don't
any
do everything,
warrants right now? Does he have any warrants right now? We're going to get his picture out there so people can know who this guy is, and abusing kids. This is that's insane.
Yeah, he has a warrant out of Windham, Maine right now for felony criminal mischief. The police in Beckley, West Virginia are looking for him, which is why we think he ran or is hiding. And yeah, that's it right now. He's got no contact orders. He's got several no contact orders against him right now. People are suing him left and right because he does construction and he ripped off a bunch of people. I know there's one person that's already won a lawsuit against him. And there's other people who are currently trying to sue him. So
he just takes the money and runs, right?
Yeah, he's got a truck and a bike that's up for repossession, and he's hiding those out, and they're trying, people are trying to find those.
Well, we're gonna get this story out there, and hopefully people can know who he is. And so, when they arrested him and brought him down to Florida, did he still have the warrant for you? And how come they didn't extradite him up there for it?
So New England will not extradite outside of New England, and he knows it. So he knows as long as he doesn't come back to New England, he's fine.
Well, that keeps a bubble of protection around you for now, right?
I hope so. But I know he's sent people into my lives recently threatening me. So I know he's watching. He's always stalking us. So, I'm never 100% safe, but it's not about just me anymore. There's other people who are suffering, and if I don't do everything that I think I can do to try to help other people, like that, I can't live with that. I need to just do everything I can. So
make people aware of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I definitely appreciate you telling your story. And if anyone has any information about this guy, help get him off the street. He hurts children and women, and those types of people should not be tolerated. Thank you for telling your story. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you on TikTok to go check out your story?
Yeah, so my handle is toxic_love _2022 or toxic_love 2022. I don't even remember, but you just put Anastasia in there, you'll find me. So
I'll put a link for it in the description of this video.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
And I appreciate you.
Man, thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast. Thanks.